here's Brody Brazil.
There's definitely a couple different types of people as it relates to the basketball court we saw for All-Star Saturday night in Indianapolis. Some knew about this giant video screen, which was going to replace the traditional basketball floor. They knew this was going to happen. Others were surprised by it on the broadcast. Some thought that all of the graphics they saw were actually superimposed. Like, for example, in hockey on the boards, those advertisements, they're not actually there. They are electronically put in on the broadcast. Some thought it was that. It's not. Others knew, actually, that is a giant video screen that's not a basketball court. And I thought it looked good. I mean, it's not one giant screen. It's a bunch of different panels that make up a 100-plus foot surface one way and about 50 feet the other. It's a lot of square foot of video screen. It's pretty impressive, actually, here, even in 2024, that they can pull this off. They can do anything they want with it. They can play video underneath it, graphics. They can do special effects like the fireball effect as you follow a player. They can also just put the traditional basketball court look on it to try and make it look as normal as possible. But this is pretty wild, and they're trying it out. This is not necessarily new technology. This is something that's been around for a while. It's been growing for a bit. This company, ASB GlassFloor, they've been the pioneers of this. They've been testing it out in FIBA. In fact, here last summer at the U19 women's tournament in Madrid is where they really debuted it. They played actual games on it. Now, we should be clear, they used this court with the NBA strictly for the All-Star Saturday night event. The dunk contest, the three-point contest, the skills competition, Sabrina and Steph doing their thing. So they're not really risking anything in terms of game action, and if it's a distraction or somebody trips and falls, like they'll take this entire thing out and not use it for the actual All-Star game when basketball is being played. But ASB GlassFloor, like they've been working on this for quite some time in the LumaFlex system to try and make this a reality. It makes me wonder if down the road someday we'll see an actual NBA game played on this type of surface. As of right now, it's not cheap. It's $2 million at an estimated cost for the size of an NBA floor, like $500 or so per square foot. It's made of those modular panels. So to be clear, it's not one giant video screen. And I guess that's somewhat important to understand, that you can take it out a lot easier in those modular pieces and panels. But I'll give you this quote here from Carlton Myers, who is the NBA's vice president of live production. "It's all video, and we can change it to anything we want. Imagine how dynamic that is, and the featured elements we can do throughout the game to enhance what's going on as part of the competition." And again, they were just showcasing it for the All-Star Saturday night. They're trying to catch everybody's attention. They wanted to do this in large part to show you this might be the future of the NBA, but also because it's a low-risk test type thing. Again, ASB GlassFloor has been doing this for a long time, 7 or 8 years. The NBA has had their eyes on it, and so obviously they wanted to give it a go and just see what it was all about. And again, the on-court features, it's so versatile. You can have design and color changes. It's really limitless. You can do live replays of the actual game action you just saw as one big video screen. I mean, think about that. The entire court, bigger than the Jumbotron by far, that hangs right above it. And I guess also this, if you're courtside, could you really even appreciate or enjoy that? You almost have to be second deck, and even the higher the better, to truly appreciate the court. Now, for a lot of years, things have been projected onto basketball courts, but let's be clear, this is a actual LED video screen coming back up at you. It's not being projected down. It's showing through the floor. The screen is below kind of a plexiglass surface on the floor. You can do real-time game stats. I mean, again, I think we're just scratching the surface of what they're capable of here. Location-based player tracking animations, like that fireball that follows a player around. Interactive games for fans during timeouts. Okay, now we're starting to get pretty intense here. Or immersive animations following key plays. Those are all ideas of what it can do. But if you think about this court, you really have to get it right. I mean, this is not as simple as it sounds for all these different reasons here. The ball reflection. That's a complicated and fancy way of saying the ball has to literally bounce the right way when you dribble it. And you think about it. People are used to dribbling a basketball on blacktop, right? They know what that feels like. Or on a basketball court. And the inflation of the ball, the type of the ball, all that stuff matters. But these are NBA players who conform to the strictest of standards in terms of the ball and the court surfaces they play on. This has to replicate it like identically. If it doesn't, you're changing the game. If this doesn't feel like wood when you dribble a basketball on it, It's no good. You cannot have that. There also has to be significant shock absorption for joints and bones. You want to keep these players healthy. You don't want to make this like a concrete style surface or blacktop style surface that they're playing on instead of the NBA's hardwood. There's also tiny little ceramic dots as part of the actual floor surface that help provide really good grip. Again, think about sliding around on a plexiglass surface with sneakers and how that would just not be a good traction type grip, but they have worked on that specifically for this reason. There's also a controlled friction aspect of it. What does that mean? So if somebody dives for a basketball, like Brazil used to do and pride himself on from Castro Valley High School, when you lay out and try and dive for a ball, you're not going to totally burn up all your skin and exposed elbows and knees and all that stuff because, a polished wood floor is going to kind of have you slide a little bit. You don't want to have that sticking, burning feeling on a synthetic surface. Also, wet conditions, right? And this is a problem for wood or any type of surface. But how does the floor respond to wet surface? Either it's water that got spilled or sweat that drips. They actually have a feature in this glass floor that you can see the water a lot better. So the usually young people with the mop, they can actually identify the wet spots a whole lot easier on this LED screen versus real wood. And then consistency and durability, like you want the whole thing to play well. It can't be warped. It can't be uneven. Think about those tiny little joints in there, right? Like they have to fit perfectly precision-wise, and durability. You don't want to have this $2 million surface and then, it's only good for 2 years and then the screen yellows and it looks ugly. You can't have that, right? So there's a lot to consider. But I actually want to bring up something that I think is part of their trial run here. I mean, my eyes are almost hurting. Hang on, I gotta break away from that for a second. My eyes are almost hurting a little bit just to look at how green that floor is. And I understand it was part of their sponsor, Starry. Is that the new Sierra Mist, by the way? Like they wanted to go along with the colors and the logos, but that is so even hard to watch on a screen, let alone in person. And then look at everybody, even in the first couple rows, they have that weird green uplighting on them. Now, there are a couple ways around that to minimize that. I think one of them is to increase the light amount from above so that it kind of washes out all that uplighting. But that looks so unnatural. Like, I don't know how it was in person because I was not in Indy, but watching it on television the whole time, I'm thinking, that just looks wrong and awkward. And it's almost like, here, I'll show you the example. It literally is like this. Like if I did the whole video like this, wouldn't you be a little bit distracted? Turn that off, save my battery. It doesn't, and maybe this is a learning curve and they're figuring it out. But yeah, again, that's a lot of green. I get what they were trying to do and they can do anything they want. So they can minimize this, but all that uplighting was just so distracting the entire time. And if there's a way to fix that or get around that, and maybe they've thought of everything, right? They've thought of all these different things of how cool you can make it, but they didn't really address that. Or maybe lower the intensity a little bit. I mean, you can like chroma key something off Gary Payton's face right now. Like you can do the weather map on the glove's face and arms right there. Is it a roll he's got there? Whatever it is, maybe a Breitling, but the green on him is so much and so intense that, and again, they changed colors, which I'll get to that, by the way, for the dunk contest. They went to blue. Okay, and that fire trail, I got to say, while Shaq was getting dunked over, that's pretty cool. And the blue actually wasn't as intense as the green. So it's not a green thing for me. It's just the overall intensity of the uplighting, right? It's just unnatural. And you could even see here in this shot that, look at the underside of the basketball structure and the support. Everything has a blue tint. It almost looks like as if the cameras weren't white balanced properly. That's a technical term we use in production and broadcasting. You change the color temperature of your camera. It almost looks like if it was a cooler temperature, a cooler outdoor light, and the color temperature was off. Anyway, my point being, it almost looks like a mistake, all of this. That it turned out this way, that it happened this way. Again, it's cool, right? Like you can change that court. You can instantly have 12 different courts and you can show cool replays and you can do very awesome introductions of the players on this court, but they just have to figure out how to make it so that the home experience, great. It's cool for the fans there. It's cool for the top-down wide shot. That's great, but you got to figure out a way to make that experience not look totally different because the players' faces are all uplit and it's not exactly the most complimentary thing in the world. So anyway, Overall, I'm not here to hate on it. It was different. I like the idea. I like the experimentation. I like the fact that nobody got hurt and they can move forward on it. But when you move forward on it, consider what you learned here as part of the process. Hey, you made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me in this channel. And by the way, if you're just coming across this for the very first time, I appreciate that too. I'm glad you found me. Hope to do more. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can definitely see me around next time.